Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check today's episode out. And guys, today, at the time of filming this video, we're in the first week of May, and May is one of the best glide bait months of the year. So I want to give you guys some tips and advice specifically for catching bass in the month of May on a glide bait, because there's a lot of different tricks to it. Glide bait fishing, it's a very finicky, tricky technique in bass fishing. You can waste a lot of time doing it. So I'm going to sort of go over the best conditions, talk a little bit, give you guys some good tips and advice on how to generate strikes. If you've never caught one on a glide bait, I think after you see this video, you'll be on your way to getting your first glide bait fish. Also, guys, just two quick things I'd like to remind you of. Just so I invite everybody, anyone interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, you can do that by going to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, just shooting me a private message. And also, guys, we have our summer Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns up on the website right now. These are maps I built specifically for Fish the Moment. They're great resources to learn more about your favorite lake or get some good fishing spots on a lake you've never seen before. So I'll put the Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link in the description of the video here. Appreciate that. Okay, guys, glide bait, man, if you're not familiar with them, and if you are, we're talking about hard glide baits today. Now, most traditional glide baits today, they are jointed models, and this joint somewhere in the body is what gives them the action a little bit. And most of them looks like some type of a fish, some type of a shad like this, or some of them look like a bluegill, just whatever the forage you have. Some people use crappie patterns, but just the shad pattern like this is probably my favorite. And also, guys, I'll link my glide bait link and my tackle warehouse link in the description of the video if you guys would like to pick up one after the video here. But that's the traditional, glide bait setup right there. Okay, before we get into exactly how to work this thing and what you want to look for, let's talk about the conditions that you have to have before you catch them on a glide bait. Now, we've done glide bait and stuff before on the channel, but I specifically want to talk about the month of May because the places that you fish a glide bait in the month of May is a little bit different than the rest of the year. And you have to have the right conditions. It's like, in my personal experience, you've got to have wind and you've got to have some type of at least a 75% overcast. If you have those days that are really bright and the light intensity is really bright sunny days with not much wind, you're going to have a tough time catching them on a glide bait. It's not the bait you want to throw into those conditions. So I prefer some type of a cloudy condition with about a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind. A pretty significant wind is really important with it. Now, there's a couple of different reasons why I like the wind. In my opinion, the wind's the number one thing you got to have. The wind, it makes the fish a little bit more aggressive and they make more mistakes because this is a big bait, guys. And it's like, you don't want the fish to get a good look at this. So anytime you have lower light conditions with some wind, it's going to help you get bites on this thing. And second to that, these things are hard to cast. They are heavy for the most part. And if you can cast them with the wind, it really helps you. And it also, casting with the wind on a glide bait, it allows you to work that bait a little bit easier. Don't ever try to cast a glide bait into the wind. Sort of cast like a potato chip and you lose contact with the bait. So try to cast it with the wind. So that's the conditions. And as far as water clarity, I prefer water visibility a minimum of 3 foot, and I like it to be more in that 4 to 5 foot range is like perfect for me in that scenario. So those are conditions. Now, the type of lake also has a big impact on how successful you're going to be with a glide bait, because you can't fish a lake that is just doesn't have many good fish in it. You need to have a lake that has a decent population of quality fish in it for this category lure to work. That's why you hear most of the success people have on glide baits in California, Texas, and Florida. You can catch them in different states all across the country, but you need to have a lake that's got a decent bass population in it for this to work. Okay, the next thing, as far as fishing this thing, I want to talk a little bit about how to fish it, and then we'll talk about the specific type of areas. A glide bait, they all do the same thing. When you cast them out and you reel them in just like that, they automatically just swim back and forth like that. Now, you can catch some fish doing that, but I prefer to work it with like a subtle jerk bait, like a jerk, pause, jerk, pause. Now, what this does is when you jerk, pause it, put the camera down a little bit there. When you jerk, pauses, it goes just like that, and then it'll glide, and then you jerk it again, it'll come back like that, and you can let it pause and jerk it again. And it seems like that working at like a subtle jerk bait like that, I generate more strikes. And the most important thing to remember is on these suckers here, guys, you're going to get a lot of followers. You're going to get probably 90 to 95% of the fish that look at a glide bait. They won't bite it. They just follow it. And so you're going to see a lot of followers. Now, one of the things that you can do to generate strikes from a follower where they actually will strike it is when you see a bass behind your jerk bait or behind your glide bait, speed the bait up. It's like reel it real fast, almost like where it's starting to pop out of the water. Don't slow it down and don't keep it at the same pace. Just start working it real fast like this and have it go crazy, because at that point, fish have to make a decision. It's like, okay, do I want to go for this thing or do I want to leave it alone? And I have found in my own glide bait fishing, it's like, you do not want the fish to get a good look at it. So that's the best thing about it. Okay, now in terms of the places you want to throw a glide bait in the month of May, a little bit different than other times of the year. My number one structure for fishing a glide bait in the month of May is on bluffs. Main lake bluffs or creek bluffs. It just seems like to me that after those fish spawn in the month of May, a lot of those fish will move to bluffs. Doesn't matter if you got Kentucky smallmouth or largemouth, there's a population of those fish that will move, to that type of area. And the point of this thing is like when you can fish on bluffs like that, you're in an area where those fish can come up on a bait a little bit more. And that's one of the things you want with a glide bait is you want the fish to come up on a glide bait. You don't want them to come horizontally. So have those fish come up on a glide bait, and that's why bluffs are really good structures, because you have a lot of immediate deep water access. So my favorite scenario with that is to get on a main lake or a creek channel bluff that's got about 4 foot of clarity on it and it got some wind and some low light conditions, and I'll make long parallel casts down that bluff bank, and I'll try to target sort of that 5 to 15 foot range depending upon how clear the water is. I've caught more fish doing that than about anywhere on a glide bait. And the other way to catch them on a glide bait is fishing it around some type of targets. It's like throwing it around the edge of a boat dock, throwing it around the edge of a lay down tree, a log in the water, something like that's going to be really, really good. Aside from the bluffs, it's hard to catch fish on a glide bait just throwing it out in open water. You can do it, but those are the situations you get a ton of followers. And I have just gotten a lot better as far as generating the strike, throwing it around some type of target. Boat docks are great places, guys. If you have boat docks, like especially floating docks, and if you got a lake that has a lot of spotted bass with floating docks, I've caught a bunch of fish on glide baits doing that. Perfect example would be like Lake Hartwell in South Carolina. I've had some great days on Hartwell throwing a glide bait around those floating docks for spotted bass. So anyway, guys, that's just a few random thoughts about it. Also, as far as the tackle you want to throw it on, I use 25-pound test Seagarn Vizex line for all my glide baits, and most of the time I throw it on a flipping stick, Megabass Alkalies flipping stick. If you have the real big glide baits, like the ones that weigh over 3 or 4 ounces, you may have to go to some type of a 8-foot rod that's like an extra heavy power. But for the most part, a flipping stick will handle a lot of the glide baits. So anyway, I hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.